Hi, Dr. Ruthann Russo here with a quick video on an acupressure practice that will help calm anxiety. This set of 3 acupressure points is known as the Buddha's Triangle, and it's one of my favorite treatments and actually really does work. So, Buddha's Triangle obviously contains 3 different points, and these 3 points can be found on the inner wrist. So the first point is over here just below the thumb, the second one below the pinky, and the last one is right in the middle, and it's 3 finger breaths down from your wrist crease. Now let's go over each one of these individually. Let's start with the first point. The first point over here, just below your thumb, will be just above the wrist crease. So you'll see a little crease on your wrist area. And the best way to find this is just to take your thumb and allow it to fall naturally into a depression that should be right below this bone here. So go ahead and find that point. And once you've found it, we're going to focus on the actual pressure. So for acupressure to be effective, it does need to feel a bit achy. So it's not just a matter of placing your finger here, and it doesn't have to be painful. You just need to make sure that you are feeling that. It's more than just a light touch. And so the practice itself will involve a couple of things. One is being aware and focused on what it is that you are doing. So once you've found the points, see if you can actually sync up your acupressure practice with your breath. You don't need to change your breath at all. Just allow your breath to be its normal, natural breath, but bring your attention to your breath. And on the in-breath, allow your thumb to lighten up on this point. And then on your out-breath, press in until you feel some achiness. And then you'll just continue that process with on the in-breath, you'll lighten up. On the out-breath, you'll press in. So this point, and I'll let you just go ahead and continue to do that, and I'll tell you a little bit about the point. This point is known as lung 9, the 9th point on the lung meridian. And again, continue breathing, lightening up on the in-breath, pressing in on the out-breath. Lung 9 is also known as the supreme abyss. It actually allows you to expand your lungs, to breathe more freely. It also helps with grief. Okay, and that was a brief practice. Generally, we'd like you to actually engage in the acupressure process for 1 to 2 minutes on each point. But even in that brief process, take a moment to notice how you're feeling in your body, in your mind, your spirit, just what's going on. What's going on now compared to before you actually engaged in the practice. So now let's look at, so that's our first point. Now let's look at our second point on the other side of the wrist. So this is a point, again, right at the wrist crease. You'll feel a little bone in the middle of the 2 wrist creases, and then the point will be just below that. And go ahead and engage in this practice as well. See if you can sync up your pressure with your breath. So lighten up a little bit on this point, on the in-breath, and then press in until it's achy on the out-breath. No need to change your breath. Just go ahead and focus on the breathing and the syncing of your pressure. And while you're doing that, I'll talk you through this point. This point is heart 7, the 7th point on the heart meridian. This is also known as spirit gate, and spirit gate calms the mind. This particular point is also really amazing at inducing restful sleep. So it helps with anxiety as well as insomnia. All right, so just again, lighten up on the pressure totally. Take a moment to just notice how you're feeling. And now we'll get to our last point. You'll measure 3 of your own finger widths below that wrist crease. And then you'll take your thumb or your forefinger, whatever's most comfortable, and you'll find this point right between 2 tendons. You'll fall, again, very naturally into this point. You might even be able to just kind of run your thumb from the wrist crease, and you'll see that you drop very nicely and naturally into the point. So again, and I know I have my hand up here, and I probably should have said this before, but please feel free to allow your hand and arm to rest anywhere where it is most comfortable. But I'm doing this obviously for the purpose of instruction. So you'll continue to press in on the out breath, lighten up a little bit on the in breath, and press on the out breath. Now, again, this particular point is pericardium 6, sixth point on the pericardium meridian, also known as the inner pass. And so the name itself tells you that it's got a special connection to the heart. PC6 is very helpful for calming the palpitations that often accompany anxiety. And it also helps with heartbreak. So again, it's just a matter of syncing with your breath, ensuring there's a little bit of achiness on that pressure, lightening up on the in-breath, pressing in more till it's achy on the out-breath. Now lighten up and just take a moment to notice how you're feeling. Notice how you're feeling now compared to before you started this practice. And I just want to end with a quick bit of advice around the process. So let's say you're feeling really anxious and you really want to take advantage of this Buddhist triangle in a quick manner. Going to each one of these points individually might be a little difficult. You could certainly just try one and see how that works. And if it continues to feel well and it's working for you, you could do all 3 points. Other option that you have is to actually use 3 of your fingers to provide pressure at the points all at once. Now I'm holding my arm up. Again, you wouldn't do this while you're holding your arm up. You would allow your arm to rest, and then you could experiment with which of your fingers works the best in each of these points. I've got, let's see, these 3 points, these 3 fingers right here. I could do an acupressure treatment using all 3 of these simultaneously. But why don't you go ahead and see what works for you, each of the points individually or all of them at once. In any event, I hope you have fun with the practice, and I'm sure it will help. See you next time.